Hello, Simonton neighbors. Dan McJunkin here with SimontonTexas.com. Thanks for watching. Well, this video is to discuss the events that occurred on September 17th, 2024, wherein the City Council was unable to adopt the tax rate for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 because two members of council did not show up to the meeting. Now, these two members have never together failed to show up, and so some would say that there may have been some intent to intentionally keep the city council from adopting that budget. I can't describe what somebody's intent may have been. I can simply say what happened. And with the mayor's knowledge ahead of time, these two members did not come. Now, the mayor did not give any indication to the room as to why they didn't. In fact, there was an attorney in the room. The attorney went into great lengths to explain how this is going to play out.
And the mayor and council have asked that I kind of give sort of the next steps. As you know, the meeting has been rescheduled to, or a new meeting has been scheduled to the 24th at this time. Again, that meeting requires 3/4 of the body to be present because it's tax related, meaning we need 4/5. If we do not have that majority as required, then we have to set another meeting, again, no earlier than 72 hours because that's the requirement for public notice, and then no greater than 7 days. That being on or near the 30th. So the 30th of September is a significant day as most fiscal years end. If a tax levy is not adopted by September 30th, the legislation has it set to default to one of two rates: the lower of the last year's tax rate or the no new revenue tax rate, which for last year's tax rate being 3 flat, correct me, right? 3 flat. This year's no new revenue rate as calculated is 0.297978. Now, as I said, that's a legislative default. That still does not mean that the tax rate is adopted by, or it's adopted by act of law, but not ratified yet by the city. Then within 5 days, the city council must meet in order to ratify that tax rate. Again, requiring 4 out of 5 present for quorum, 3 out of 5 for the vote to adopt it. If no action is taken then, or no meeting is held, or whatever it might be, the tax rate will default, another default, to 0. So there will be no ad valorem tax rate. The budget will stand, which we can discuss more later on the budget, but that's sort of what the sort of timeline for ad valorem tax rate is.
So I'll give you a brief rundown. The day before, on the 16th of September 2024, the City Council passed their idea of the budget for fiscal year 2024 through 2025. The next day, the tax rate would have to be set. Now, during this, the videos are all online. You can go look at it for yourself. But the upshot is the mayor attempted for the probably 5th time in the budget workshop setting to propose her own budget while rejecting the budget that Mayor Pro Tem Cox had previously tried to present. The mayor had rejected it. Courtney had provided it to the city secretary and offered it to the council members, 4 of which accepted it, 1 of which did not, apparently. So with that as the backdrop, Courtney Cox, having attempted to make changes to the mayor's budget, the mayor had kind of gone through some gyrations, saying that she would, but she never really did. She changed numbers on the budget that she tried to present. Now, none of this was done transparently so that you and I as residents could see it, because the city has no obligation to post a proposed budget by a council member when the mayor has already proposed her own. The one that they have on the city website is the mayor's. It was based on, I believe, a 31 cent, more or less, 31 cent tax rate, slightly less. The The council had shown through all of these budget meetings that they didn't want to go that high, that in fact, they said fairly early on that they wanted the tax rate to be 21 cents, or at least that's what Courtney wanted to propose, was 21 cents per 100 valuation. The mayor, of course, rejecting that, getting upset a few times because Courtney had adjusted the numbers in such a way that there was no budget for a city administrator. Courtney saying, yes, we can always adjust the budget when that time comes, but since we don't have one now, we haven't really needed one for a while, this is the budget she wants to propose so that citizens will get further tax relief from these high taxes that are simply in place to create what amounts to a type of indefinite fund. In a perfect world, the city would set up, if they wanted to set up specific funds for specific projects, they should do that through the council process where they protect those funds. And one way that a lot of cities do it that I understand is through a capital improvement plan. We need to build roads, and so let's put money aside. We build money within an account, and that becomes the seed that grows over time. However, the way the administration has gone up to now, and this really is since Mayor Boudreaux took over in 2018, became mayor, once she got a city administrator who took over the books and really just started controlling things, they really became a lot less transparent with the public. And indeed, throughout those years, the council didn't even consider the finances because it was all done by the city administrator. It was really the mayor had hired this person to be the mayor, which baffles me because as mayor, the job of as a mayor is to be the administrator. And although this mayor says they need to hire an expert, and she said it recently in meetings, we need to hire somebody that's a financial expert and says, I've got a full-time job, I can't do this job. And my question is, Mayor, you ran for this as an office. This is the office, this is the job. And yet, the minute you came in as mayor, you had to hire somebody to be mayor. And that we called it administrator, but they did all of the functions that the mayor should do. On top of that, they cut the council out of knowing what was going on with the money. Bringing this up to today, on the 16th, the mayor did not like the budget. When the motion was made, Courtney Cox said, I'm going to make a motion to not accept yours, but to accept my own. And it was seconded. And the mayor said, I've got to leave. I've got to go talk to the attorney. She returned about 15 minutes later. And after apparently talking to the attorney, she proceeded with the meeting, apparently realizing that Courtney had the authority to do this thing. So the budget was established based on Courtney's proposed budget at 21 cents. Now, whether you like it or not, that's the budget that the city has adopted. Then you move forward to the next day. Now, you can't adopt the tax rate on the same day you adopt the tax, apparently. And so they've scheduled this meeting for the very next day. Now, interestingly, were they able to adopt the meeting, the tax at the meeting on the 16th, they would have had a quorum in the room. Well, on the 17th, unbeknownst to anybody in the room as to why these two members of council didn't show up, they didn't have what's called a super majority. That is, in Texas, a 5-member council can't adopt a tax rate with a simple majority of 3-2, right? We got 5 members, 3 vote for, 2 vote against. That's how most things in Simonton work, or in any small town, any town, really. So it's a simple majority. Well, when it comes to adopting a tax rate, the state apparently has raised the bar so that at least in the room, you've got to have at least 4 out of the 5 members in the room in order to adopt the tax rate. Well, these 2 members didn't show up. Now, as I said before, the mayor apparently knew this was going to happen ahead of time, didn't disclose to the room exactly what happened and why she didn't encourage these people to arrive or come to the meeting. because after all, this is probably the most important vote of the entire year, is to get the tax rate set and for the reasons we're going to talk about. So the mayor just accepted it like, well, they're not here, so we can't vote. We can do the rest of the meeting, and they did. They did have an executive session, and then after the executive session, the attorney does go into specific detail as to what happens next. Since the city was not able to adopt a tax rate, well, now what? The mayor has posted an agenda for a meeting to be held on the 24th. That will be this coming Tuesday. That's, as I said, September 24th, 2024. And presuming that 2 council members do come, that all 5 are there, or at least 4 out of the 5 are there, then they can transact business. They can pass a tax rate, and they can move on down the road. Everything's good. Now, one interesting thing, and the mayor did point out at this past meeting, that the council does have authority to adopt any tax rate up to the tax rate that was proposed in the mayor's original proposal, which is almost 31 cents. So it's unlikely they're going to do that. Now, in the meeting on Monday, the 16th, these 3 members were very clear. 21 cents is where they wanted their tax rate. It was unequivocal. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion. And that's what they wanted. They knew that these other 2 council members didn't like it. But at the same time, the 3 council members that formed the majority on council were elected and to represent the people that voted for them. Actually, they represent everybody, but they were voted in on this platform. So the biggest issue that the people had on the 17th was, well, now we can't get roads fixed, and now we can't get our zoning done. And Courtney went to great lengths to try to kind of assuage their fears that no, she does have money for the zoning. That was reported by the mayor when she apparently created the budget, which was, I believe, $155,000. The mayor later changed that, saying, oh, I need $187,000, something like that. Well, that's another matter. They've got money in reserves in the bank. They could always take that money out to accomplish any goal that they have. The other thing related to roads, Courtney says there's money in the budget for roads beyond the mayor's budget, and if they need to, they can always go into what Courtney calls their savings, or what the mayor calls the reserves, in order to accomplish whatever roads need to be built. So that can be done, according to Courtney, in her budget. So the point is that was adopted. The tax rate was not able to be adopted. So moving forward, there is now a meeting to be scheduled for the 24th, in which they'll have another bite at this apple. Now, the question is, what tax rate, if any, will they settle on? That is, if they have at least 4 out of the 5 members at the meeting. So the question is, will they be able to even have the meeting? Because this meeting next Tuesday is on an irregularly scheduled date. They have 2 regular meeting dates. That's the first Tuesday of the month and the third Tuesday of the month. This one is an irregular date. So technically, even to have the meeting, they have to have 4 members. So if these people do the same thing that they did on Tuesday the 17th, and they don't show up, there will be no meeting on the 24th. Well, what happens now if that happens? Well, if that happens, then there will be a meeting scheduled for September or on or before September 30th for the council to ratify what happens from the state. The state will say, well, now, since you weren't able to establish your tax rate, the state steps in and says your tax rate now will have to be the lesser of either how much taxes were billed to residents last year or the no new tax rate. In this case, it'd be whichever is less, so it'd be the no new tax rate. Well, that's all well and good, but this council has demonstrated that they want 21 cents. And the 2 members that aren't coming to the meetings, trying to force their hand, they want a higher rate. Well, this is where we're creating a situation where something bad could happen. Now, the bad thing that can happen is even though the state says it'll be the no new tax rate, it has to be ratified by the members of council. And this council, having not shown a propensity to adopt anything higher than 21 cents, could very well refuse. And if they do that, then that's the worst scenario. Because at that point, Simonton has a zero ad valorem tax rate, and I don't even know how to recover the next year from that. I'm interested to find out what that scenario would be. But in very real terms, we are at a very high stakes poker game, and it is unnecessary for this one reason. The mayor's job is not to dictate to the community her expectation and have the council achieve it. The mayor, we are not a fiefdom, not a kingdom, we're not a dictatorship. The mayor is an administrator, and the council is the legislative body. They're just like Congress. Congress decides on all spending, so does the legislative body in the city, that is the council. But the mayor has taken the position of, I want my way, or nobody gets their way. And on a number of other issues, but on this one specifically, what a mayor's job is to facilitate the meeting. Facilitate, the root word of that is to make easy. To make easy, to ease, to facilitate the meeting. And then by doing that, the mayor can help the council members come together achieving consensus. This is one of the things that we all learned as council members in the TML, Texas Municipal League Handbook, on how to be a council member, and I know the mayor has read that book. Achieving consensus is the number one priority of any mayor, because the mayor herself or himself has no authority, no power to dictate. It's all the power is bestowed to the council members. They vote on everything from ordinances and resolutions, and in this case, the budget. So the mayor shouldn't tell or advise or allow for two council members not to come because the mayor wants her way. So I guess my question is, where do we go now? And I can expect that the room will be full on the 24th, for no other reason than to see what happens. I can say that I pray it's not a train wreck. And beyond that, I want the mayor to hear my heart, and I hope the community hears it as well. And that is this. I don't hate you, Mayor. I don't hate anybody on the council. Indeed, I don't get to hate anybody in this town because that's just not something I get to do. Now, the things, your policies, I have a right to disagree with, and I strongly disagree with a number of them. The fact that you won't let these 3 council members in City Hall is a huge one. The fact that you are not being transparent in disclosing the finances to them and to the community, those bother me. I have a right to say that out loud, and I have a right for you to understand that. Now, you don't have to receive it, and if you hate my guts, that's up to you. That's on you. I don't get to hate you or anybody else in the community. And what I'm going to ask the community is, when you hear disparaging things about me, all I ask is watch what I've done, judge my actions. And if you might hate my actions, I don't know that you have the right to hate me, but if you do, I can't stop it. And it doesn't break my heart that you do. I've already been through enough of that, and I'm past it. Because what I do care about is the community as a whole. I've always cared about it. From the time I got out here and built my first website, proud to brag about my new community back in 1999. I love the community. I've served the community in multiple levels, and I believe that there are great people in town that can do that and continue that, the legacy of the other people that have also served. But I don't believe that we have the right to hate each other just because we disagree. In fact, I think that we need to agree that we can disagree. In a family, there's never 100% agreement, but in a family, in a healthy family, people agree to disagree all the time. And we are a type of family. We will get nowhere by hating each other. But if we can agree that your opinion is equally valid to mine, and we don't have the right to hate each other because we have an opinion, or even if we take action on our opinion, such as this video, that we have a right to do that. This is America, after all. This is a freedom of speech country. The people that speak at public comments have a right to speak. I think that they shouldn't be disparaging of others, and I think they should operate according to the mayor's rules of decorum. But they have a right to be heard, just like I have a right to be heard, just like your council has a right to be heard on our behalf. And Mayor, I'm asking you to stop this. I'm asking you to facilitate cooperation and collaboration with the 5 members on this council, 3 of which you don't agree with, but 3 of which want to work with you if you'll work with them. So I think this is a good time to see that this train wreck doesn't have to happen. And it's the only reason we are at this train wreck moment is because of the total disrespect that's been paid to these 3 members on your council. So I'm asking, as a former mayor, as someone else that has served equally so to you, I'm asking you to please treat them with the same dignity and respect that you received when you were on my council and that you expect to receive from the community. So that's all I got. I really hope you do that, and I hope that we as a community can come together, rally behind our city, even if we don't like what happens, that we can rally around supporting our city. And I can say this, if nothing else, pray for your council, because they need direction. They always need your direction. Just keep them in your prayers. That's what I do. All right, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next video.